Child. The shenanigans continue in Love is Blind season 7 episode 8. Steven tried to get some points back by going to a pressed flower shop date. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of cute. That was kind of cute. I still do not like that man, but that was a cute date idea. It was. And he was real when he said, you know, she's been asking for flowers, and now I can't just get her flowers. I gotta do a step above. Period. He kind of nibbled when he did that. Then we find out that Nick is living with his parents, and before y'all call that a red flag, I'm speaking from a perspective of a person who lived with her parents right out of college, because I was able to. Like, I was, you know, blessed to get, number one, blessed to have a good enough relationship with my family where I could do that, and number two, blessed to have a job that was close enough to where I didn't mind the commute from my parents' house to the job. I was saving money. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it is a smart financial decision, unless it makes more sense to just move to wherever your job is gonna be. I stayed with my folks. My sister stayed with our folks until, you know, she was able to, until she had been working for a while and she could, you know, comfortably afford a place where she could be on her own. You know, I did the same thing. So like, it makes financial sense. It does, you know. But that's where I draw the line at defending Nick living with his parents, because guys, I think, is Nick an only child? I don't know. But when we go to his parents' place, the house is nice. I'm not gonna hold you. The house was cute. The house was nice. We see his basement bedroom, which again, I didn't have too many problems with that. I mean, it was a basement bedroom. I mean, there's not much you can expect from those. It is what it is. But when he said, you know, after they get married and Hannah can go ahead and move right in, no. And this is why we say you start defending a man and he will embarrass you immediately. Because why would you say that? That makes no sense. You and your wife, now it's different. It would have been different if he had said, you know, financially, I'm in a place where I need to live with my parents, you know, for the rest of the year, and then I should have enough to like contribute to your rent if we move into your apartment, or, you know, we can move in here, save the money you would have been paying for rent until we can afford a house. You know, that's different, because you've got a plan, you're thinking, and you're not trying to be there forever. The way he said, you know, you can move in immediately, made it sound like he was never trying to leave. And that, now that's a red flag, because what do you mean? No. And when Hannah was like, no, I don't think I will be doing that. Real, because also he's a realtor in DC, so I know you've got some business. Where is all that money going? Where is the money going? Where you didn't immediately think, well, let me, you know, start saving some for me and my future wife to get like a house, or for me to move in with my future wife to her apartment. You know, like he had no plans. It was vibing. He was fine chilling in that house to the end of his days. So where is the money going? Is he saving it? We don't know. We don't know. But it's giving he's not being a good steward of his own funds, mindset wise. So, and again, he's 28. I'm 27. And recently got married. And, you know, now me and my husband have our own, you know, our own place. But I'm just saying, like, at some point, you gotta get about the house, Because even the fundamental thing is that's your parents' house. So like you will always be treated like, even though you're growing up and you're grown and stuff, there will always be certain things and certain instances where they treat you like a child because that's their house. And you will always be your parents' baby, no matter how old you get, you know? So it's not like they're doing it, hopefully now, it's not like they're doing it maliciously, but that's their house, which means you're gonna have to continue abiding by their rules. And if they're always gonna see you as their baby, their child, and you're 28, you're almost 30. So it's time to go. You've got to go. You've got to go. Because where is the maturity? The more mature you get, the more you almost want to have your own space. You know, you want that independence. But Nick doesn't seem to want any independence. And honestly, the way the way Hannah be talking to him and the way he be responding, it's almost like he's just trading one mom for another. Like his mom told him what to do, and so now he gonna let Hannah tell him what to do, and he just gonna be vibing and chilling for the rest of his days. Hey, if that's what he want, who am I to say anything about that? Then we get to meet Marissa's girlfriends, and quite honestly, her girlfriends are real. Like, those are some real friends, because her and Ramses are talking about, you know, what they like about each other, and somebody brings up the disagreement that they had over Marissa's military service, and one of her friends is also in the military, so she brings up, you know, like, if she ever goes into the reserves or something, is that a cause for divorce? And Ramses basically says yes, it is, because at the end of the day, I don't agree with the military, so I feel like that would be a deal breaker for me, because it's a moral disagreement, and those are hard to kind of reconcile. But I didn't like, because he was trying to say, like, you know, the military, I'm not immediately gonna assume that you're a bad person, but I'm gonna side-eye you just like I would if you were wearing like a MAGA hat. Like, I don't immediately assume that you're a bad person. And I feel like those are not the same thing. We meet Tim and Alex go and they meet Alex's family, and I don't have to ask if the romance was in or the wholesomeness was in the room with us, because it was from beginning to end. That whole interaction between Tim and her family, wholesome. But especially because, you know, Alex had expressed over and over and over again that she wants her father to approve of Tim before she feels comfortable moving forward, you know, and saying yes at the altar. And quite honestly, Tim could have said, you know, yeah, I'll talk to your dad, and then they could have talked about like sports or something. Like, he didn't have to talk or ask him for permission for his daughter's hand in marriage, but I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad he did, because that whole guys, I'm not gonna lie, I was tearing up. I was tearing up. When the dad started tearing up, I started tearing up, because that was such a wholesome moment. And I said, this is what I'm looking for. Like, yes, the drama is fun, you know, and keeps us coming back, but I miss the wholesome content, you know. I miss these couples who actually seem to be into each other, and not just like one, but like most of them. And we may have like one or two who end up not being a match. I miss the wholesome content, so I'm glad that we got some in Tim and Mr. Bird's interaction, because that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. That's really, when I watch shows like Love is Blind, that's what I'm hoping to see. I'm expecting the drama, but I'm hoping for some wholesomeness, you know? And then Garrett and Taylor finally talk about what, you know, the end of this process is going to look like, where they're going to live, how they're going to kind of navigate him moving to, I think it's San Diego, California, because that's huge. Like, his whole family is around and in the Fredericksburg area, and so he'd be leaving all that behind and basically leaning on her, only really knowing her in San Diego. And I like how real they got in that conversation. But I also like that a lot of her family is in San Diego, because I think that made him feel better. Because when they were talking about moving, it almost, I feel like in his mind, he thought that they were going to be like on an island almost. And not be around like any family. Because clearly Garrett is very attached to his family. And nothing's wrong with that. You know, we love healthy family relationships. So I'm glad that they kind of had like a real conversation on that. And actually kind of outlined what that would look like. You know, are they only going to visit Washington, D.C. once a year? You know, are they going to know his side of the family? Things like that. So I like that. I like that. So then we get more of Steven talking about what he likes to do in the bedroom. And I'm tired. Honestly, I feel like I know more about that than why he likes Monica. I'm not here for that. Cut the cameras. We don't. These segments with Steven and these rambles be going on for too long. They be going on for too long. And then we cut back to Hannah and Nick. And it's clear that Hannah is getting the ick. It's clear that the more Hannah spends time with this man, she's not liking what she sees. She's not liking what she sees. She's not. Because they talk about like financial literacy, who's gonna do what in the house, stuff like that. And like Nick, throughout that whole conversation, Nick was giving stereotypical man. And when I say that, I mean, like, you know, she's asking, do you know anything about stocks? And he says no. And she's like, well, you know, I can teach you. And he's like, well, do you know anything about sports? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, see, there you go. That's what I mean when I say typical man, because the average man will hear something and he will equate it with something that is not in the same lane. Like she was talking about, do you even want to be financially literate? Because the only thing you're paying for is your car note. So like, who's gonna be paying the bills, me or you? You know, who's gonna be doing this? Who's gonna be doing that? Which are valid concerns when you start living with somebody. That's stuff that you have to talk about, for sure. And he says, well, do you know about sports? That's a pastime. That's entertainment. That has nothing to do with like the day-to-day activities. That has nothing to do with making sure that you are financially set for your future. Because I think she said, I was talking about money. And he was like, well, stocks aren't, she was like, sports isn't money. And he was like, well, stocks aren't money either. Please, every day a comedy. A comedy. But nigga's not ready to be grown with responsibilities. He's not. He may be 28, but he's not ready to be a full-fledged adult. He's not. And he has no interest in learning to be one. And honestly, why should he? Because he's still living with his parents, and his parents still do a lot for him. And as somebody whose parents do a lot for them, this is what we mean when we say you cannot lump us all together. You cannot lump us all together, because Nick is a prime example of what happens when you spoil your child too much without making sure that they can stand on their own 2 feet. I'm sure that he can. I'm sure that he's capable of doing so, but he doesn't have to, and therefore he does not want to. Again, he is trying to ride this bus until the wheels fall off. He is not trying to move out of his parents' place. He's not trying to get off of anything that he is still able to stay on. I know that he's got his own insurance, because they kick you off of that at what, 25, 26? So I know he's off of that. But like the phone plan, he didn't have a plan for that, you know? And again, you're getting married to somebody. So like, even if you aren't the most financially literate, that's okay. The average person is not. You know, they don't teach that kind of stuff in schools. That's something that you have to have a desire. You have to have a desire to want to learn. That's fine. You know, I'm not knocking him for that. I'm knocking him for, he's just floating. He's floating through life, and he's giving the rest of us who had parents who took care of them a bad name. He is not doing good. He's not, because he's floating. He had no plans to move out. He doesn't know anything about a phone bill. He doesn't know anything about his car payment. And that's only because he has to pay that. You know, she was like, are you going to join my plan? Or you can get your own plan? He didn't even say, well, I could think about joining yours. At first he was like, why would I leave? Why would I leave my parents? Babes, when you are getting married. I don't know how many times I have to say that. You are getting married. You are starting a family with somebody else, which means you are grown enough to start handling your own stuff. Your parents should not still be doing stuff for you. They can. You know, I'm not saying go cold turkey, but I am saying you need to start thinking about the partnership that you are trying to build, because you are the one who proposed. Hannah's not the one who got down on her knee and asked you to marry her. You were the one who did that. So it's like he did that and he said, okay, that's it. My part is done. I don't have to do anything else. So honestly, I'm right there with Hannah. He has been giving me the ick. And then moving on from him and all that, Ashley and Tyler meet Ashley's father. And I do like how he spoke about her. A lot of these parents that we've seen so far, they have been speaking very well about their children, and I love that. I love that. But I also like that he asked good questions. He asked some good questions. And then then in a twist that everybody saw coming, Monica and Steven are on the rocks. Steven didn't sleep there. No. Steven slept somewhere. We don't know if it was the sleep study that he was supposed to be at. Also, I think it was hilarious that she was saying all this. Steven was like getting waters and stuff from the back, like in the background, you know, like trying to like escape back out the room. But like Taylor had come over. Taylor and Monica are talking about how like Monica doesn't know where Steven was. She doesn't believe that he was at that sleep study. She doesn't, because Taylor leaves. Steve comes and sits on the couch. Steve looking like a kicked puppy. But it's all an act, because Monica reveals that she saw Steven texting with, why am I saying it like that? But she saw Steven texting some other woman last night into today, okay? Last night into today, some very risque texts. Very risque texts where the intention cannot be questioned. It looks the way it is, okay? It is exactly what it looks like, okay? And Steven is like, you know, Monica asked him point blank, did you text her this morning? Or did you text her today? And Steven is like, no. And Monica's like, you're lying to my face, because I saw them. Pull them up. And Steven is like, I deleted them. Because of course he did. No face, no case. He said, absolutely not. It's your word against mine. And I'm about to respectfully bow out. So it don't even matter. But Monica is trying to tell him that he hurt her deeply, because yes, Steven was problematic for sure, a walking red flag, but Monica loved that man. Monica loved that man for real. Like, you could tell from like the fireworks show and how upset that she got that he didn't go see that with her and stuff. Like, she was about Steven. She really liked that man. She was really invested in their relationship. And so she's trying to tell him that he essentially broke her heart when she found him cheating. And, you know, he's doing that whole thing that problematic men do when they're just trying to get out of something. So, you know, he's like, you know, your feelings are valid and all this other stuff. And she's like, stop telling me my feelings are valid. I know they are. And I'm like, period. Because you're saying a bunch of nothing, Steven. You're saying a bunch of nothing. And so, you know, Steven is saying like, I'm sorry, and also the other stuff. And Monica's like, why did you propose to me? If this is what you're going to do to me, which is a valid question, and one question that a lot of people have when they get cheated on. Why would you do this to me when you could have left me alone? Why? We had come so far, because the wedding is only a couple of days away at this point, you know. So why did he do this now? Why did he do this now? And Steven just completely disengages, you know, like she's starting to tear up, she's starting to cry a little bit, like, you know, like, why did you do this to me? And he gets up, he's like, you know, I can't, I deserve less, you know, I deserve less. And in that moment, it was clear that Steven has some potential self-esteem issues that he needs to work through or something, because he kept saying, I deserve less. And in that moment, I believe that he believed that. It was giving self-sabotage, like, because the way he talked about Monica, like I said, Steven gave me the ick all the time. He was also kind of giving me a little bit of Nick, where like he said a lot of like rehearsed lines, but then he would ramble, and like in those rambles too, he would mention what he liked about Monica. So like I thought they had a problematic but good thing going. So I do think that he might also need some love is therapy, not love is blind, you know. But you know, he says, I'm sorry, I'm gonna leave you alone, and he dips and he leaves. And Taylor and Garrett come over to comfort Monica because she is devastated. I'm not even happy that I'm right and that Steven ended up being a problematic person to the end, because there was potential there, but he was still problematic. So it's like, I don't know. And that's where we leave off. What y'all think? Was he at the sleep test? Because the way Monica describing them texts, he may have been in bed, but I don't think he was sleeping, child. But that is all I have for y'all today. We've got one more episode to tackle before episodes 10 through 12, I believe, drop. So we about to see the foolishness. It's like, where do we go from here? Because at this point, who's left? Everybody's had problems at this point. So I will see y'all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.